one sweet day.
We are getting destroyed, and it's very recent, and it's accelerating.
Welcome to the shit show every single day.
The primary mold toxin in coffee that survives roasting and brewing is called ochratoxin A.
Oh, would you look at this?
Yeah, well...
Would you look at that?
Yeah, there's a few more blemishes on the car.
Oh my gosh, just look at it.
The car is not perfect.
Just look at it. Just look at it.
Yeah, well...
What the heck is that?
Natural flavors. Anybody ever think about what the heck that is?
This pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch.
They want to affect the quality of the foods that we consume.
They take a strain of genetically modified E. coli.
Some of these products that are marketed specifically to Black girls contain some of the worst ingredients I have ever seen.
They never tell you that. Oh, by the way, there were people there. They make it seem like it was just like they're sitting there. The doors open.
The liquefying of dead humans and flushing them down the municipal sewer system.
According to this patent, which was purchased by the U.S. government, huge tunnels can be dug deep underground with zero debris.
Walmart used to take out life insurance policies on their employees without telling them.
Has anyone else noticed that snow doesn't look like snow anymore?
Non-transgender women, obviously that just enhances the risk that transgender people face in society.
A little blue dune bugger.
The glass of water forgot to float. What is it doing? Doesn't it know that it's supposed to be in space?
This right here is a picture of Mars. This right here is a picture of Devon Island, which is in Canada. And they look very much the same, except none of the rocks line up. This is all satire.
CO2 is a gas of life. When you have more CO2, the plant kingdom, the whole ecology, even the oceans, gonna have more, basically, ability, more fishes, more everything.
More life.
More life, essentially. That's why it's called gas of life. And these people want to demonize it as some gas that can cause global warming, can cause hurricane to run faster or weaker. I don't know what they want. To have more rain, more droughts, and all this other nonsense that they claim. All of that, it just ain't so.
Do you know what else Nestle did?
What?
Nestle sent thousands of employees, people overseas to third world countries, dressed them up as nurses and doctors. They would visit these hospitals when moms would have babies, and they would give them free formula and convince them or basically explain to them how much better formula is than breast milk. And so the parents would decide to formula feed. It deeply impacted the milk supply.
Yeah, sure.
Then they got discharged from the hospital. Guess what? Formula is not free anymore. And the mom doesn't have breast milk. Because guess what else moms don't have in third world countries, a lot of third world countries? Clean water. What do you need to make formula? Yeah. Water.
Isn't Nestle's CEO the one that said that water isn't a basic human right? This former CEO, former chairman and CEO of Nestle said the idea that water is a human right is extreme.
They're responsible for millions in millions of infant deaths.
The more I learn about the world, the more, I can't believe this is the world that I live in.
There was 3,000 children enrolled in Lahaina Luna School District, and the school was out that day. And when the school is out, that means the children, the keiki, are at home either by themselves or with their aunties, uncles, or grandparents. And so the governor, one of his first interviews for the nation, he literally said, we are expecting to have a lot of the deaths be children because they were home alone. And so so only 3 children died. Here's the enrollment after the fire. So before the fire, 3,001 children enrolled in the Lahaina Luna School complex. And then after the fire, 538 enrolled in a different public school. And then 438 enrolled back into Lahaina Luna School complex. 2,025 children did not re-enroll anywhere. 2 weeks after the fire. So where are they? 25 children. Where are they? If they're not re-enrolling, did they all go off island? A lot of people ask me, why aren't the parents screaming at the rooftops? We think whole families have died. I interviewed Ellie Cochran, who's a state representative for Hawaii. She grew up in Lahaina. She survived the fire. She knows a family that was 2 blocks away from her, a family of 10 people, and she said all 10 people died.
Yo, has anybody else noticed that in this recent speech, like the coat of arms behind Trump, where usually like the head of the eagle is facing towards the olive branch whilst having these arrows, which means that it's capable of peace and war, but it's going to look more towards peace. The eagle in this coat of arms is looking towards the arrows, towards war. And it's like, damn, that's kind of settling.
Some Chinese space station way up in space. 100% guaranteed, way up in space, totally real. And here are our astronauts, totally clean cut, like they just arrived yesterday, sharp haircuts and everything, very clean. It probably is their 300th day though, we don't know. Here they are floating around because there's no gravity up there. They tell us that there's no gravity, so we know that there's no gravity. But there's one problem. The glass of water forgot to float. What is it doing? Doesn't it know that it's supposed to be in space? Is it pocket of gravity? I know that there's an answer. There always is an answer. And it's going to be some magical, like, settling equation or something like that. I think I see a little bit of curve on that water. I can tell that water's curved. It's not really level. Nothing is really level. So it's probably some sort of refraction. I'm going to call it that.
If you don't believe in the firmament, there's proof of that barrier, video footage. And what you're seeing, I just want to break down for anyone who by chance is here and has no clue what we're talking about. We're talking about lightning sprites. This phenomenon is very mysterious for a reason. It wasn't captured on photo until about the 1980s. But these things occur at heights above 60 miles. And these things are massive, almost 60 miles wide. They make Mount Everest look like a giant stone. These things are huge and powerful, billions of volts of electricity. And when we look at what these things are, they are considered large electrical discharges made up of plasma. How does this prove there's a barrier up above us? Because we can replicate it in the lab with an invention made by Nikola Tesla known as the plasma ball. This thing can replicate lightning sprites brilliantly. And where it comes into proving that there's a barrier up above us is when you try to do this without the barrier. If you remove this barrier, it's not going to work. That's why you see waves moving across this barrier before these things shoot out. When you flip it upside down, it looks like waves in the ocean. And they haven't just been captured on video by NOVA, they've been captured by astronomers. There are people who go out time and time again and film things that should not happen on the globe, but you can see it for yourself. It's there. This necessitates a barrier. This doesn't happen in deep space. A vacuum chamber is not going to have random waves moving in front of luminaries like that.
Alright NASA, I got a bone to pick with y'all. This right here is a picture of Mars. This right here is a picture of Devon Island, which is in Canada. And they look very much the same, except none of the rocks line up. This is all satire. It's all a big joke. Watch the video. So I decided to go on Google Earth, NASA, and we're going to check out Devon Island, and we're going to see what it's all about. Y'all ready? Here we go. Alright, so as you can see, it says the Mars-based bed and breakfast, but when you zoom around and you just kind of check out everything, they're all on four-wheelers and what is that? Mars Institute? Hold on a second. NASA, CSA, which is Canadian Space Agency. Don't forget now, this entire video is satire. It's all a big joke, fact checker, so there's no misinformation because it's just a joke that I'm making on this video. This right here is Mars, this right here is Devon Island. All they did was get a little filter and put it over it from Devon Island. He's like, oh yeah, is what people say, but that's actually not true. Fact checkers, is it?
It's Wisconsin covered this. It's Wisconsin has joined 20 other states in legalizing the liquefying of dead humans and flushing them down the municipal sewer system. And if you know from my research in the past, those then liquefied dead humans, many of whom died from the vaccine, of course, are being turned into biosludge and then spread on the crops as a form of fertilizer. So we have entered the realm now in 2021. This is not an exaggeration. It's all confirmed, double vetted, verified, that people killed by vaccines are dissolved into liquid, flushed down the drain, concentrated into biosludge, and spread on the food crops. Owen, this is like the Matrix. They are feeding the dead to the living. It's all 100% confirmed, and it's happening now in 2021.
This is just unbelievable. A new angle.
So, and if you call these companies and say, look, your product looks really clean. I see 4 ingredients, but it's got natural flavors in there. Can you describe where you're getting, oh, we source the best. I'm like, what is the natural flavors? Not a single chemical or food manufacturer has been able to actually articulate in any sort of transparent way what the heck the natural flavors is in their food. It can be up to 80,000 different chemicals in natural flavors. There's 4,000 patents on putting free glutamate in the natural flavor ingredient label. Over 95% of our foods contain some sort of ingredient that contains MSG. And why do they do that? Why are food manufacturers doing this? It's a direct link to our neurological system and makes us think that food tastes good. It's the underlying mechanism of all addictions.
This is just a reminder that Walmart used to take out life insurance policies on their employees without telling them. And then when they would pass away, Walmart would collect all of the money and not give any of it to the family. It was called Dead Peasants Insurance. Aptly named because many of these people were peasants in a modern day society because they were underpaid and overworked, and Walmart knew that that would send them to an early grave, so they were basically betting on these people to pass away and then collecting massive insurance policies and keeping all of the money for themselves. Keep in mind, when Walmart underpays its employees, the taxpayer subsidizes those wages via welfare. So we have an enormous multi-billion-dollar company using international slave labor to make its products to be sold in stores that are manned by people who are underpaid and overworked into an early grave, just so Walmart could collect those policies to pad their own pockets.
Some of these products that are marketed specifically to Black girls contain some of the worst ingredients I have ever seen. And I think it should be outlawed. Like you said, the fragrances, the endocrine disruptors, these harsh detergents, some formaldehyde releasers. Formaldehyde's a human carcinogen. What place does it have in a beauty and personal care product? It doesn't. It needs to be removed. There needs to be better regulations and better protection for vulnerable populations.
I was doing some research and I looked at Harvard Health and it said 50% of products advertised to Black women contain endocrine disruptors, which are those disruptors that are going to impact their hormones, increase their chance of things like cancer, infertility, etc., compared to roughly 7% that are advertised to white women. And these endocrine disruptors can impact fertility and increase their chance of getting cancer.
So to make aspartame, they have to do something very interesting. They take a strain of genetically modified E. coli, and then the waste product, the fecal matter of the E. coli bacteria genetically modified, the fecal matter is aspartame. And that's what is revealed in the aspartame patent. E. coli feces used. Now you can't tell me that doesn't sound like evil scientist stuff.
We are getting destroyed, and it's very recent, and it's accelerating. The stats speak for themselves. You know this very well. 74% of Americans are overweight or obese. 50% now of American adults have type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. These were diseases where there was 1% of Americans in 1950 had type 2 diabetes. Now it's 50% of Americans have prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. Alzheimer's, dementia are going through the roof. Young adult dementias have increased like 3 times since 2012. So early onset dementias, we're seeing, this 1 in 2 Americans are expected to have cancer in their lifetime now. 1 in 2, and young adult cancers are going up 79% in the last 10 years. We've got, of course, the autism rates are absolutely astronomical. 1 in 36 children has autism now in the United States. That was 1 in 150 in the year 2000. And in California, where I live, it's 1 in 22 with a lifetime neurodevelopmental disorder. We've got infertility going up 1% per year. 25% of men now under 40 have erectile dysfunction. A quarter of the country. You know, this is fundamentally a metabolic disease. We've got 77% of young Americans can't serve in the military because of obesity or drug abuse. We've got autoimmune diseases. Some studies are saying they're going up 13% per year.
Check this out, y'all. That doesn't look like snow. It really does look like styrofoam. What do y'all think? Stay weird.
So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So this,
You guys see it?
this pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When you swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte.
That's what I do.
And they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true. Okay?
Okay, but
Okay, so wait. So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that right away.
Yeah, no. We're not shipping that right away. But it sounds like...
This is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
And then what happens? Does your heart beat change? Does your...
We can just tell that you've taken the pill, a tattoo that could be used for authentication.
Any instructions in this one executive order, including this directive to HUD to issue proposed regulations to, in essence, exclude trans people from various forms of shelter system under the auspices that a trans person is an inherent threat to non-transgender women. Obviously, that just enhances the risk that transgender people face in society if we are deemed as a threat to others simply by existing.
I also think that as a Jewish person, like, I was fed a huge amount of lies about Israel my entire life. You know? Yeah. They never tell you that, oh, by the way, there were people there. They make it seem like it was just like they're sitting there. It was the doors open.
Hours for the taking.
Like, it literally, they forget to include the fact to every young Jewish person, basically, like, oh, by the way, there were people there. I'm afraid of Jews. I'm 100% afraid of Jews. Oh, yeah. That's it. It would be nice to live somewhere that was not a part of the Christian apocalyptic prophecy. It is also probably a good idea. It's like, maybe settle somewhere that, you know, the Christians don't think you all have to die in order for the
yeah, and then they want us all to go there. They need a certain number of Jews.
They need us to go there so we can die, so the apocalypse.
But that, could you imagine living in Israel? Would you ever go live in Israel?
No, it would be...
Welcome to the shit show. Every single day, a new flavor of fuckery. Cause everybody's such, you see, and they're dumber than a bag of clots. Monday, bullshit. Tuesday, bullshit. Wednesday, what the fuck? And then 4 more days of increasingly stupid, ridiculous, ignorant, boulder, dash, poppycock.
Wait, so it's the mold that dehydrates us?
Oh my gosh, do you want 30 seconds on that?
Yes.
The primary mold toxin in coffee that survives roasting and brewing is called ochratoxin A. It is a toxin that attacks your bladder and your kidneys. So when your body detects that you just drank this, It freaks out, it dehydrates your tissues to dilute the toxin, and you know this. You ever drink coffee and then you have to pee 20 minutes later and your bladder's not full?
Yes.
Why did you have to pee without a full bladder? Because there's toxins in your pee and your body's like, get it out of here. This stuff causes cancer.
Oh my God, I have chills all the way down my body.
This is why it works.
If autism is truly genetic, then explain this. This is a study done by Duke University. They took children with autism whose parents had banked their cord blood. They took the banked blood and infused it back into the children. So nothing else, just the child's own cord blood. 2/3 of the children showed improvement in their symptoms, and 15% of those showed significant improvement. This just further proves how children are not born with it. If we did the same thing with, say, someone that had another genetic disorder, like cystic fibrosis, nothing would change. If you put their original blood back into them, nothing. So showing that this, again, using the children with autism, using their own cord blood, basically that hasn't been subjected to any kind of mutations from the environmental factors, and it actually improved their symptoms, speaks volumes.
What parents need to know is, number one, that disciplining children is absolutely essential. You have to discipline. You don't discipline your child, you're raising a miserable creature. They won't be able to say no to themselves. So yes, disciplining is absolutely essential. But don't discipline on the spur of the moment. Discipline with a plan, premeditated. You see your child doing something wrong that needs to be corrected. I'm not talking about something dangerous where you need intervention. But the child lies, the child is greedy, the child is cruel, and you want to fix that. Well, don't just shout at them when you catch them red-handed, because then they're not listening. They're busy defending themselves. Wait till the next day. Discipline with confidence, not with anger. If you mention the next day, you know, yesterday when you did that to your friend, it's not the way, it's wrong, and you explain it. The fact that you were thinking about it since yesterday is in a way a compliment to the child. You've been thinking about me all day, and it makes the issue sound much more serious than if you simply react on the spur of the moment. One of the problems with that is that if you don't react on the spur of the moment, by the next day you've forgotten and you never get to discipline it. So you have to have discipline yourself, that you won't forget the next day at the dinner table, when everybody's calm, you very casually say, that was not good. The kid will love you for it. If you discipline on the spur of the moment, the kid is afraid of you. So do it wisely and you'll get very good results.
The story time I'm about to share with you is in the top 3 most unsettling emails I've received since starting Spooky Scary Storytime. It came from an ecologist who claims that his superior, his boss, was not of the human race. You can skip to this part if you want to start the story right now, but I feel like there's a few disclaimers that I have to get off my chest before I start this story. First off, I'm only going to tell you what he said in the email. I'm not going to inject my own opinion because we listen, we don't judge. Second of all, he does not follow me, but his daughter is a fan of Spooky Scary Storytime, which is how he found me and why he submitted his story. Apparently, she's been following very closely the Diorb bags videos, and she thought that this was relevant somehow to what's going on. The Diorb bags is a whole nother rabbit hole, so go down that if you haven't. But third, this man sent me this email from his real name. He asked me to please keep him anonymous because his career is on the line, which is why he's never told this story publicly. He said he's very well respected in an academic and professional sense. Literally the reason I get the good stories is because I respect people's anonymity. Finally, before I start the story, I'm going to censor certain words because media in general does censor a little bit certain things. So you're going to have to fill in some blanks, but I will try to make them as clear and concise as possible. This man said I could refer to him as Dr. Corbin. He's been an ecologist for the last 20 years. He is extremely well respected. He has published papers. He has contributed to scientific journals. He's a big deal. Sometime in the last 20 years, he was doing a research expedition at Yasuni National Park in Ecuador. It is part of the Amazon rainforest, and he said it's extremely unique in that it's one of the most biodiverse places on Earth, and it has extremely unique climatic conditions. To put it simply, he was there to study biodiversity. He said these research expeditions usually last anywhere from a few weeks to a few months, but this specific expedition was 8 weeks, and he was there with a few people that he knew, but it was a relatively large team. One of the guys he's there with, he went to school with to get his PhD, and he knew him relatively well. He said that this man had never said anything about like fringe theories, like he was very scientific minded. He said his entire team was working under the supervision and hand of somebody named Dr. Vola, not her real name. He had never met Dr. Vola, but she communicated with them pretty much just through email, and a few of his bosses that were on site knew her. His friend who he went to school with had also met Dr. Vola on a previous project. So after 2 weeks, when the team was there, Dr. Vola was coming out to the station where they were all staying. And the night before she gets there, Dr. Corbin is asking Dr. Joe, like, what's she like, like what's she like working with? And Dr. Joe just says point blank to him, she's a lizard. Not what he said, but you know what I'm saying. Said there was no sense of like sarcasm, of like joking in his voice. So Dr. Corbin's like, what do you mean she's a lizard? And Dr. Joe is like, yeah, like you'll see when you meet her. Like everyone knows, everyone accepts it, but that's just what she is. Dr. Corbin obviously thinks he's joking and doesn't take him seriously because, again, he had known Dr. Joe since they were in school, and Dr. Joe had never exhibited any, like, conspiracy theorist tendencies. He had never said anything like that before, so he's like, obviously he's messing with me. Dr. Corbin said at this point in his email that he's experienced a lot of strange things that he can't explain in his work. He's experienced weird animal noises, weird animal behaviors, weird noises in the jungle, weird lights in the sky, but nothing could have prepared him for meeting Dr. Vola. She arrives the next day. He said the first thing he noticed about her was her complexion was one of the things that made her beautiful. He said it was like glass. Like, he didn't know the words then because this was before social media, but he said it was like she was wearing a filter in real life. But he wasn't trying to flirt with her. Obviously, she was his boss. He was actually intimidated by her because not only was she stunning, but she was incredibly smart, and she appeared to be a lot younger than him, even though he was relatively young when this happened. He said that was surprising to him because when she arrived on site, he expected some respected doctor that had been in the field for 20 or 30 years. When she gets there, she basically doesn't interact with anyone, but she gives people certain assignments. And he said the second thing he noticed was her movements. They were almost too smooth, like they were calculated, like she was trying to figure out a way to fit in naturally with other people she was around. The day after she arrives, her and the team venture out into the jungle. They're working on something, and he said he noticed that her skin was weird in the sunlight, like it was almost reflective. But then he thought it was just his mind playing tricks on him. It was so hot, and then he realized she wasn't sweating. So he started paying attention to it the next few days. She never had a bead of sweat anywhere on her. Every night the team ate together. She would always remove herself from the situation. She never ate with the team. She never had a snack. She claimed that she had certain allergy restrictions that prevented her from eating normal food. Not that weird, but what was weird to Dr. Corbin was that she always seemed to be near animals in their final moments. Dr. Corbin said he really didn't recognize it at first because in the rainforest, creatures succumb all the time to predation, illness, or just the elements of the rainforest. But after about a week, her proximity to their final moments became too obvious and too frequent to ignore. In one case, he said they were tracking a giant anteater for a few weeks. It was an elder male. It was scarred. It was majestic, and they had been monitoring its activity for a few weeks. One night, their GPS tracker on the giant anteater stopped tracking. It was later in the afternoon, but it was still light out, so Dr. Corbin and a few of his colleagues went out to find it. And they come to it, and they see Dr. Vola crouched over it. Her face is almost touching it, but when she saw them, she stood up and straightened herself. She muttered something about checking for signs of it being attacked by a predator, but the team took samples and they concluded that it had passed from natural causes. But what struck Dr. Corbin was Dr. Vola's behavior later that night. She seemed energized. She seemed like she was invigorated by something. He said when they returned to the base, her movements were sharper and quicker, like she had just had a surge of adrenaline. It wasn't just the anteater. After that, he noticed if something was dying, she was there. It was birds, frogs, small mammals, and every time she seemed to have a surge of energy afterward, like she fed off of it. He said obviously he has no way to prove it, but he felt like she was feeding off of something, their life force, their distress. He said over the next few weeks, Dr. Vola spoke very little, but when she did, she seemed to reveal information that she couldn't have possibly known. The results of experiments before they had concluded, the location of animals before they looked at the tracker. One evening, he decides he's going to joke with her. He's like, Dr. Vola, you are psychic, or you have a satellite feed in your brain. He said that her reaction stunned him. She stopped what she was doing, stared him dead in the eyes, unblinking, and said, Dr. Corbin, jokes are dangerous, and you don't want to ask questions with answers that you can't live with. He laughed nervously, but she just turned and walked away, and later that night she approached him when he was alone. She asked him if he knows how fragile humans are and how easily they can fall apart. Then she tells him that the jungle respects strength, not fragility, and honesty, not jokes. Dr. Corbin said his breaking point on this project came a few weeks later. He was watching the night trail cams and he spotted something odd in the trees. It was about human size, but it moved like a reptile. It had reflective eyes and it moved with a speed unbeknownst to him. He said at this point in his career he was very familiar with most of the species that lived in the rainforest and he had no idea what this was. The timestamp the video showed was during one of Dr. Vola's solo patrols. The next morning he confronts her and he tells her basically like, I think the light or the camera messed up because like, look at what I found. And she watches the footage and she looks at him and she says, delete it. And he was like, I don't know what it is. Like, look at the elongated neck. I think we should study this. Like, we should try to find whatever this is. And she leans in closer and she says, delete it. He tells her he would, but he didn't. And then later that day when he checked his laptop, the footage was gone. A few weeks later, the project concluded and he went home. He's back in the US now and he has not worked with Dr. Vola since, but he said he believes that some things walk among us that are not human, even if they appear to be.
But right here, we're looking into the Thousand Oaks area. Actually, yeah, this is the north end of the Thousand Oaks area. Looking for any damage in here, but it doesn't look like fire got into this area. This is to the, actually right up the edge there. It's a little bit of fire came down. Oh, we got a house right there. and multiple houses down here in Oak Park. You see right there. It's the ones that back up to the interface, and that's 12 o'clock. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah, I see it now. It's Lindero Canyon. I see there. So, yeah, trying to get oriented here from so high up and very little visibility outward to where I can get my references. But you can see here the damage. Houses on either side, still standing, but the one right there is completely gone, and it got into these houses in the back. I got that one house right there. In fact, that's one we were watching last night. Yeah, we were watching this one last.
Got a sassy chassis, sparkling in the sun. All four small bald fat tires, rocking through the sand and burning up. Little dune buggy in the sand. A little blue dune buggy.
Since the day I saw it, I said that's the remains of an ancient tree. You can even see the roots. It's crazy.
This was a video submitted by a follower some time ago, and I agree with your comment. Hundreds, if not thousands. In the many years of doing this research myself, I have came across hundreds of undeniable examples of these ancient trees, ones that stretched as high as the eye could see. But now just the bases remain of these trees. And I believe for as many as we see above ground, there are that much more still to be discovered for those with open eyes, buried right beneath our feet. Parts of them petrified, parts of them rotted away into the mountains and hillsides as we know them today. But more daily, our eyes are becoming open. I get more and more submissions from followers from all over the world, showing what they've known all along to be giant tree stumps right in their backyards. Perhaps there are even a few of them in your own backyard. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
And I know eventually we'll be together once we die. I always get.